Well, good morning, good afternoon to everybody. My name is John Fulton. I'm Director of Product Management here at Smart Simple. I'm here with Mark Bridger, Product Owner. We'll be walking through today's webinar of the winter 2025 release of Smart Simple. Very excited about this release. Just a couple things to highlight. There is a ton of enhancements in this release. I know Mark's going to be going through at a pretty rapid pace, but we will make sure we have time at the end. I ask if you do have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat, and we'll try to answer those during the session or during the end at Q&A if they can't be answered during the session. Couple things to highlight with this release, couple key themes focused on based on the feedback we're getting from customers, namely around enhancing the user experience. So you're going to see a number of enhancements around the user experience, specifically with the left and center panels and the modernization there, a complete notes redesign and notes tagging, some updates to interactions and activities from a CRM perspective, including even a chart view to give you an organizational view of those interactions, and a few other major improvements, including reducing complexity. I'm very excited about the report reminders, workflow reminders capability that a number of customers had highlighted during our Connect events, contact associations, along with some platform improvements around performance and modernizing our UI rendering in terms of separating the front and back end more on the performance side. And then just a couple quick notes on the AI, delivering a self-hosted AI model are just a few of the many enhancements that Mark's going to go through. So with that, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Mark. Thanks, Mark.
Perfect. All right, I'm going to share my screen here. And I guess just as a recap there, 1 second here, I'm going to share my screen. All right, hopefully everyone can see it now. Perfect. Again, I'm Mark Bridger. I'm the product owner here at Smart Simple, and that was John, our director of product. Also here at Smart Simple, we're going to walk through the October 2025 upgrade. I'm going to turn off my video temporarily while I'm sharing my screen just to keep the disruptions, I guess, to a minimum. Everything I'm going to talk about here is found on the wiki. I'm going to walk through about 20 minutes or so first and just kind of walk through a lot of the stuff that is in here, wiki.smartsimple.com. If I click on upgrades, you can see the big list here. What I do ask, as John said, is just start putting stuff into the chat, your questions. We'll have a whole Q&A for as long as we need to at the end, but I'm going to run through everything first so everyone gets to hear everything, and those who want to stay can stay as long as they want as we dive into everything. All right, and John's going to help me monitor the chats while I'm going through this. So I guess just an update. So many people say, well, when am I going to get this applied? If you're in the key release, which is typically our North American clients, this will get applied October 9th, so next Thursday. The backups would have already had this. So if you go to your instance and you're on kind of a shared hosting, you just go to the backup and you'll be able to see it. You can test it. You can kick the tires right now. All of our other clients that are managed dedicated or a lot of our European clients, they are going to get this 2 weeks after. So again, that would be on the 23rd. So do put your questions in the chat. And without further ado, I'm going to jump right in. So I always like to start with the enhancements that everyone's going to see right away. And I'm going to dive into the system for a live demo and walk through it. So the first thing, first thing I want to show everybody is to highlight is the rich text editor. I know we talked about this for the last several upgrades. The old rich text editor has now been deprecated. So it is no longer available. You can no longer switch back to the old rich text editor, which means that when you come into the system, everyone will now be using the current rich text editor. We did have to move to this for security and compliance. You can still copy and paste your items from Word into here or from other systems into here and start using it. It does work a little bit differently than the old one, but it's generally the same. There is a possibility that some content may need to be modified. And in that case, you can feel free to reach out to support or client engagement if you want a bit of hand-holding or guidance on how you can do that. I would like to highlight while I'm looking at the rich text editor, kind of what the rich text editor is. So rich text editor really you're allowing the user to kind of put in their own HTML, so their own formatting, their own HTML. If I click here on the source, I can actually see what's in there, and I can modify it. And that's what I've copied and pasted in these bullets. I just copied and pasted those straight in from Word. But if you didn't want to do that, you can also copy and paste using plain text, just a word to let you know. The difference here is in how that content gets pasted in. So when I'm pasting it with plain text, if I look at the source here, you can see it's actually quite very different. So it's not a bulleted list like the top one. It's kind of faking it up in a way where it's preserving the white space and it's putting a bullet in there. So, if I was to do something like that, I might want to come back in here and format it again this way. And that's what I mean about some reformatting might need to take place if you are doing that kind of a paste job. I can talk more to this in the Q&A section, but I'm just gonna keep it going at the instance of time, at the inference of to keep it going, because this is a really big upgrade in that we made a lot of enhancements for you. We've really moved mountains. So I want to keep going for now to the next part, which is the notes. Um, so if I come in here into a record, you'll notice the notes experience has changed in this upgrade. So now in this one, we've added a search in here where I can search notes for different things. Uh, we also added the ability to have threaded notes. So I can have entire note conversations within records now. So I have a subject here about progress report, and then I can go back and forth. Me and David are going back and forth about what's happening with this progress report. And down here, I've also got another conversation going on about the client's interested in extra funding sources. And we can reply back and forth to each other. And one of the new things that we have an option for is being able to tag people. So I can actually tag someone and say, hey, David, I need you to action this in some way, or I need you to come and look at this record in some way. So I can do that with the @ symbol. I select the person, and then I can type my message in there. When that happens, they're going to get a message up here. It's going to pop up, which I can see here. And then I know, okay, I got to go into that record. So if I click on it, again, it brings me right to that record. I can see what I need to action, who is talking to me. And I can really kind of action it from there. In order to do this, this is an opt-in, because obviously you wouldn't necessarily want everyone to be able to tag everyone. You want your applicants to be able to tag internal staff. So it is an opt-in, the tagging, and I'll show you how that's done. So if it's something you want to do, and I would suggest if you're going to do it, maybe you just do it with internal staff to start. So the way you do that is if I go to, let's do it again, I go to global settings. So I went to the global settings icon, global settings, and you'll notice that we've moved our notes options all down here. So all the notes, because they're threads, are going to have a subject now. You still have your options here for whether or not you want to show the company name. And then if you want to use tagging, this is the setting here. So I decided to use tagging. I said my system administrators will be able to tag each other. So I added that role here. And now when I go in, if I type I can see who's a system administrator in the system. I can message them directly, and they'll show up underneath this notes icon, and they can see me. So again, you might only want to use that for internal people because you will see people's names there. But it's a really quick and easy way to action and communicate through the notes on your records. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is our interaction tracking. So this is really kind of like an easy, simple update to some of the CRM functionality in the system. So let's say as a funder, I'm talking with my applicants and I want to go back and forth with them and I want to record kind of those interactions I'm having. So with this new feature, again, pretty much no configuration needed. I can come right in here and I can start logging every time I interact with that user. So maybe I called them, maybe I went on a site visit. I can record, what happened, what kind of event it was, what kind of interaction it was, where we met, what UTA and what application this was regarding. I can come down here and I can say who I met with. If the event happens in the future, I can set up reminders via email and again, the notification bell. I can attach documents and I still have that notes functionality we were just talking about. And so I can kind of record all those interactions between myself and the applicant. It shows up under my profile, it can show up under the applicant's profile and under the organization, so I can see them all in a singular place. And I can even see them on visualize those interactions over time. So here I can see in dedicated swim lanes, okay, I called them on this date. I had a site visit on this date. I followed up with an email on this date. And I can see it also vertically down here as well. The events that are going to come up in the future versus the events that have already happened. So all of this is kind of a revamp of the organization activities we had. And I'll show you how you can permission this, whether or not you want people to see it. So if I go into here to global settings, I'm going to go to the user, and it is under the standard fields. And it's now called interactions. We left the, let me just search for it there. Yeah, interactions, there it is. So here's the standard field. Now I called activity list because that's what it used to be called, but you might want to call it interactions or whatever you want. And under permissions here, you can choose who gets to see that. So obviously, maybe you just want your internal staff to see it. Maybe you don't want the applicant to see it, but you can do that. And you can even set up on those interactions, you can create your own list views within them to show the data that you want to show here. I was just surfacing notes and different things here, but you could choose to show something else. So again, some really kind of helpful, easy to use way of recording your interactions between the funders and the applicants right here and visualizing that.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm getting a number of questions that are very similar about the ability to use email and or instead of in-app notifications, which you do have that option. I don't know if that's something that you showed or not. I was responding to the.
Yeah. So if it was printing the interactions specifically, when I set up my reminders, so if I had reminders and if this happens in the future, I can choose, do I want to send an email out? And do I want to send it to the owner or the contact? So here we have the owners. So those are typically your internal people. So myself, maybe me and John would be internal. And then the external person here is the person named Joan. That would probably be the applicant. So I can choose, maybe I want a system notification and an email to remind me that this event's coming up. But I don't want to let the contact know. Or vice versa. Maybe I want to let the contact know. Again, you have that kind of robust ability to set up reminders for events that are going to happen in the future. Yeah. The one thing I do caveat is that we're still working on the recurring functionality here, so I'm not going to show that one. I would just create the events for now, but hopefully that gives some clarity on that one. All right, and again, just put questions in the chat. Keep going. We're gonna spend more time on that at the end too. So the next thing I want to talk about is the enhanced record page view. So recently we updated the header to give it a new look and change some of the interactions on it. In this upgrade, we've modified the look of the actual record page itself. You've got a larger left navigation here. Let me choose a different record here. Sorry, we'll do it in English. I got a larger record navigation here on the left. We've prioritized things like the new button. So the visual priorities changed a little bit. And I guess I should back up. The first thing is internal staff will now see this when they log in, and you've got this option here. So if you don't want to use the new look, you don't have to. It won't show up for everyone. It's just for internal staff. So your internal staff can log in. They're going to see the new look, and they can give us feedback on what they think. About the new look, you can turn it on and off using this toggle right here. External staff, external applicants and things like that will continue to get the old look for now, but again, you can change that here. Some other key changes. So for example, here you see I've got an icon here. So this is an application record, and this application record looks different than if I jump into like a user profile with myself. You can see here my profile looks different. Same with the organization. So you can tell the kind of record you're looking at by looking at this icon. So you get a bit of a visual indicator of what kind of record you're looking at. Another key change here was we kind of made the submit buttons a bit larger down here, and we brought the next in the back into that bar, made it more visible. We've heard a lot of feedback with people saying the next in the back were hard to find or people didn't see them. So again, we're making them bigger, moving them in. I guess the last thing I want to kind of highlight here is, for example, when I'm on a user record, there used to be what we called high visibility actions up here. Those have moved under here. So now if I want to disable login access, it's under the actions menu. Still available. It's just some of those items have moved under this actions menu. So if you're looking for those, that's where they went. We really do hope that you like the cleaner interface, and we really want to hear from everybody about kind of what they think of the experience as we continue to polish this and make it a great experience for everybody. There is a global setting, but again, I'd rather everyone try this out internally first before we turn that on, and then we can talk more about that after. So the next thing I want to talk about is archiving records. So if you have a lot of records in your system, some people may have opted into archiving those records. What archiving does is uh, it takes those records out of this general list view. So when you're searching, they're not going to show up, but you could still search them under the advanced search. And people would do that using batch update. And that way, if you have hundreds of thousands of records, it's not loading all the hundreds of thousands of records every time you're doing that search. It helps performance that way. In this upgrade, we've changed the way that archiving works, and archiving will now reside underneath the UTA level 1. So if you've archived records, you can access them. I'll show you again. I'm in the UTA configuration settings on the level 1 tab, which for me is Grant. Down here, you can see we have these new archive settings. The first setting here is which you pick where what status you want to archive records on. So instead of using batch update and manually archiving records, you create a status in your system. I made one called archived. And when a record gets sent into that status, it'll automatically be archived. And what that means is it's actually taking that record out of the table it's in and putting it in a new table. So when you're doing searches and stuff, they continue to be optimally fast because it's not having to search through those records that you're not actively using anymore. You also have the option to restore them. So if you archived a bunch and you're like, well, I still actually want some of those, we're still doing something with them, you can still bring them back. So again, here I created a second status called restored. And if I go in to the archive grants here and I select this, I can restore that grant. Now, the thing to note about this is if you are choosing to use it, that you archive the level 1 and then it will archive the child level 2 and 3 records that are associated with that. And I don't mean like if you have a consumer provider, those associated records won't be archived, but if you have child records, they will. I can view it here and restore that if I choose to. So if you've already archived records, they will get moved over into this new place. So that's where you'll go to find them. You won't be able to find them through the advanced search anymore. If you haven't archived records, you won't notice a difference. But the option is still there if that's something you choose to do because you want to get some type of performance gain because you have a lot of records in your system that maybe you're not actively using. So that's archive records. The one thing I will also note about archive records is if you are using them and you had reports, you will have to modify those reports because the archive records are going into a new table. So if there's questions, I can answer more about that at the end. The next thing I want to talk about is our contact association. So along with the new look, we updated our contact association as well here. Record here. So here I have our contact association. So you'll notice there's a bit of a new look here. So if I want to type somebody's name, I give them a role. So I'm going to be a reviewer on this, and then I can add the contact, and boom, there I am. I'm added. So before there used to be an option to expand and collapse this. Again, we prioritize the buttons and just try to simplify the interface a little bit here. What's even more, I think, exciting is for some people, this is if I want to add people in and I want to associate them with this record in a specific role. Like I said, an applicant or a reviewer, co-applicant, maybe executive sponsor, however you want to associate this person with the record. Now, instead of coming here to the left, if you want, we've added a new simplified way, which is easier to associate people. So in my scenario here, I want to add a co-applicant. And I know I always want to add a co-applicant here, and I want to do it inline. I don't want to come here in the left navigation. So what I did here is I'm using a linked record list, and I can do that. I can just say, I want to add Joan as a co-applicant. Boom, she's added. That's it. Done. So you can see right there, there's Joan, she's now a co-applicant on this record. And I'll show you how I did that. And the idea here is just to make it as simple as possible to add someone to this record. So I'm using the special linked record list, and that allows me to add that person in line instead of navigating to the left navigation. And then down here, we've got this new option called Enable Simplified Association Interface. And what this does is you predefine what role that person's going to get. And you pick the list view you want, and then you just choose that person and they'll get assigned in. So again, so if you already know if you're always going to assign a reviewer this way, or you're always going to assign a co-applicant this way, it's a really easy way to kind of set it up and add people without having to go through the complexity of doing it this way. Now we still have the way where you can add multiple, or you can use the advanced lookup to filter your criteria. But if you want a simple way, there it is. All right. The next thing, I'm just going to talk to this for a second, and then I'm going to jump back into demoing. I just want to let people know that with some of our AI features, we're moving them over to an AWS hosted infrastructure. So the work with AI, which is kind of like the chatbot in the system, is moving over to Claude 3.5 Sonnet model, hosted on our AWS infrastructure. Same with the AI assisted search. We're doing that as well. We're bringing that into our hosted infrastructure, and the AI translation. The new one is also going to use Amazon Nova Lite foundation model. If you're using Azure as your hosting, and because you don't want to host maybe in AWS infrastructure, that will remain unchanged. But this is the methodology of the models that are going to be used there, and we're going to be kind of migrating a lot of our AI features into kind of that infrastructure. And nothing is going to be sent out to OpenAI or Anthropic. It's all going to go inside the our hosted infrastructure. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is for people that have, here I am in a UT list view, and some of our clients have a lot of types or a lot of statuses, and when they're trying to do searches and they want to filter by it, it can be hard to find it in that list. So again, this is a kind of a small thing, but it's a real quality of life thing. So if I'm looking for maybe just types that are in the arts, I can just type that in, and now I can filter just on art. So it's a way of finding things for when I'm searching a little easier. So we've got that. Next thing I'll jump to is our smart folders. So smart folders, again, this is where I can, it's kind of like a Dropbox or something similar to that, where I can come in here and put my files in here, and then I can reference them, or I can have help files in here that we can reference, and people can come and learn about different things or see other resources. And we can share those internally or externally. So the new look is now complete here with no option to switch back to the old smart folders. The old smart folders have been deprecated, but you can come in here and see it. One thing I will also bring up while I'm here that I was going to talk about a little later is we added a new option under our system folders for retention period. So what this is sometimes if you have an integration with someone, maybe I got an HR feed, or maybe I'm going out to an accounting system or something like that, and I'm dropping files in here, I can set a retention period on my files and say, after 30 days, just delete the files that are in this folder. So instead of doing it manually, now you can do that through an automated method. So I just thought to highlight that while I'm here. If you have questions about smart folders, you can just throw them in the chat. We can talk about that after. And those are the first big things that are going to happen kind of automatically that everyone's going to see. So now what I'd like to jump to is the things that are kind of on demand, the things you're going to opt into. So still lots of enhancements here, but these are more opt into, whereas the previous ones are things you're going to see automatically. All right, so the first thing I want to introduce is Smart Search. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but there is an article here if you want to learn about it. the whole idea of Smart Search is, again, for those clients that have hundreds of thousands of records, we've got this kind of new offload query functionality where you can load those list views in fractions of the time that it takes now for our clients with large data sets. So it's something we're working on. And again, I'm not going to go too deep into it. There is an article about it, and some of our US clients may go into beta testing in the near future for this feature. So keep your eyes peeled. I just wanted to kind of highlight it and let you know it's coming. Uh, we've made a lot of good progress on that at this point. The next thing I want to show you is visualization, because I love visualizing the data in here and kind of understanding the story a little better. And so to show this, here I've got I have two types of, well, I guess I have three types of grant application types in my system. Um, and I can see where the money is going with those. So typically you might have a dashboard or that has maybe multiple charts that show different things on it. In this upgrade, we've given the ability for the end user to be able to kind of filter these charts on the fly, or dynamic chart filtering. So if I have a chart here and I want to see only what I did in 2025, I can search it and I can change that value up. Or maybe I want to see what I did in 2024, or maybe I want to see something like the region. So it's like, oh, how much funding did I send to the Northeast? Oh, okay. So again, I can change it on the fly. Instead of making multiple charts, I can have one chart and set it up this way. I'll show you real quick what I did in case this is something you want to add into your system. So I'm going to jump into the portal builder here for a second. So what I did is I made a list view chart. So here's my chart section within the portal. And this is a list view chart, so it's not a report chart. I have a list view that's going to pull the data that I want, and then I'm going to chart that data. And then down here, I said, show the search panel. And this is where you would normally put in something that allows people to kind of search that list view. I want to search by type or by region or whatever. So I turn the search panel on, and then the new option here is, instead of searching based on text, I'm going to do an option selector. And the option selector then will take those predefined criteria that are in that custom field, surface those so that the user can then select them and use that to filter their graph on the fly. All right. I know I'm going through a whirlwind pace here, but we will have lots of time at the end for anyone to ask questions. So do keep putting your questions in the chat, and we can go over it again with the need for whatever you want to talk about. So the next thing I want to talk about, and John had already mentioned this, and it came from some direct conversations that we have with some clients about kind of reminders and automated emails via the workflow. So I'm going to jump into workflows now and talk about those. So I've seen some systems where clients have many tasks and complex logic used around sending out emails. So let's go with the scenario that maybe I have my applicants have to submit a progress report, and I have trouble because I always forget to submit it on time. So I want to send them out an automated email to remind them at set intervals that to hand in that progress report. So what I want to do here is I go to tasks, and I've got a single task here of the type acknowledgement. And I go to the message template, and here's my message. Basically, I've got so many days left until that progress report is due. So now I come down here and I'm using the new option, which is called set up as reminder. And what this allows me to do, it gives me these fields down here. So I pick a deadline date. This is a custom field on the record. So I pick the date, and then I pick the time frame. So I can pick different time frames. But here I said I want email to go out 1 month, 1 week, 3 days, and 1 day before that deadline hits. And so what it's going to do is it's going to send out this email on those intervals. So every day it's going to go and check those level ones and say, hey, is it 1 month from that deadline date? Is it 1 week from that deadline date? Is it 3 days? If it is, it's going to send this email, and it's going to use this variable here, reminder countdown, to say, you got 1 month left, you got 1 week left, you got 1 day left. It's also going to check the condition here. So instead of doing, again, complex logic on this, you can say if it's in the status of in progress or pending, I know that email has to go out. So if for some reason someone moved that record to another status and it's not here, it's not going to go out. You don't have to have kind of this looping tasks that are going to check every day to see if anything changed. It's just going to check every day to see if it met this criteria. Is it one of those statuses? Is it one of these times from that deadline date? If yes, boom, send it out. And not only does this simplify it and hopefully make everyone's life a lot easier, but it's better from kind of a processing perspective, and it's a much more efficient for the system as well than the way that a lot of other systems have been set up in the past. So I do hope you guys try this out if this is something you're doing. And again, let us know what you think, because I mean, you tell us if this makes a big difference in your life, but we're very optimistic this is going to be super helpful. Um, all right. The next thing I was going to talk about, and I didn't configure it, so my apologies, but you can now use, we've kind of made our SSO options, our single sign options more robust. So you can now, if it's something you're interested in, you can allow your users to sign in with their Google account, their Microsoft account, their Apple account, if this is something you want. Likewise, you can do the same thing with Orchid. So if you have an Orchid ID and you want to use single sign on, they can use your Orchid ID to authenticate into your system. With the Orchid one, there is some caveats. First off, you have to connect, obviously, their Orchid account to their Smart Simple account, and they have to have a verified email with Orchid. But otherwise, you can use that as a new methodology for coming in. And if it's something you want, again, I'm not going to go into it in this webinar, but in client support or client engagement, and we kind of walk you through how this works. I do want to show you something we did with reports. So here I got a report, and maybe again, talking about integrations, maybe I've got an integration with an accounting system and I want to send the payments that I want made over to the accounting system so they can make it. And I'm using a scheduled export for that, which is great. The one thing we added is maybe I also want to send to that accounting system a copy of all the receipts. Well, I can do that now. So down here, it says include uploaded files and exports. So not only can I give them a list, here's the payments to make, but if there's any files saved in custom fields attached to those records, I can then add that custom field here, and I can choose, to submit those payment records or things that were uploaded to those payments as part of that export. So again, new option there. I didn't set it up, but we do have a new ability to restrict the visibility of applications. I started setting it up just before the call, but I didn't finish in time. So essentially, when you're doing applications, yeah, my apologies, I didn't set up. I'm going to show you anyway, even though it's not done. So the whole idea here is, let's say I have an application that's only in Spanish. And I only want people to submit in Spanish. What I can do is I can actually configure the system to only show that in Spanish and give them an option. So when they view the record, they can only view it in Spanish, they can only submit it in Spanish, or you can give them an option to switch languages. So what this really is, and again, my apologies for not saying it beforehand, is it allows you to say, okay, this type of application will only be supported in one language, and I don't have to put any kind of complex logic or anything in there. As soon as they look at it, we'll automatically switch the language to the language that you want the user in, regardless of their user settings, and then that way it helps you ensure that only people who want to apply for that will apply for it in the language that you desire. As opposed to kind of translating other languages and getting applications into different languages, you can actually specify and I'll just show you how I set that up, even though I didn't finish setting it up. My apologies. But the whole idea here is I made this type, and under here I said, hey, this one can only be viewed in a specific language, and then I give it a message that's going to display to the user, and then it flips that user into that language while I'm viewing that level 1 or level 2 or level 3 of that language. If they jump back to another record, everything goes back to whatever language they preferred. But while viewing that, they can only view it in that language specified. So again, that's a new option there. If you have a specific type of, application that can only be viewed in one language, you don't have to do any complex logic with it. It's a very simple setup, and you can now force people to view it in the language of your choice. Another thing that I think is kind of helpful for people if you've ever created an organization in the wrong hierarchy. So let me go back a second here and talk about hierarchy. So within Smart Simple, we have two different hierarchies. We have what we call the internal hierarchy. So these are people that maybe it might be your program officers, like your internal staff, those kind of things. Those would be people internal, and then usually your external are things like your applicants, maybe it's contractors or other people, other vendors you might be dealing with. Now, if you accidentally created somebody externally and you actually want that organization, those users to be internal, you don't have to call support or get engineering involved. We added a new option to actually switch them. So right here, you can see when you're looking at our user, first of all, I can see this organization is external. It's not internal, so I know that they're in that external hierarchy. And if I want to, I can convert them. I can actually bring them to be internal because I made them in the wrong place. I don't have to delete them and then recreate them. And that will bring any sub-organizations, any users associated with that, it'll bring them all over as well. Now, the thing to note there is if you're bringing people over and they have an internal only role, for example, that role will be removed because you can't assign an internal role to an external person, for example. So just to highlight that. Um, oh, I wanted to talk about invitations. Again, I didn't configure this one, so my apologies. But with invitations, sometimes people invite someone to participate in an application, and when they do so, um, the person will go and they'll click on the setup sheet, and then it attaches and associates that user with the application. Um, Now, I'm going to jump into the user signup page here. So when on the user signup page, when they get associated, uh, what happens is the user will get the roles associated with that signup page. So if I'm a new user, that's fine. So I'm a new user, you create me in the system, you associate me with the application so I can start contributing. Great. What happens is that some of our clients will have a kind of a role that's kind of like an unverified user. So there'll be some type of vetting process. And then once they've crossed that vetting process, that role gets removed. Now, when they get associated with another application, if they create themselves again through that signup page, it usually applies this role again. And what I've seen is some systems is people have been creating workflows to kind of remove that if they were an existing user. So instead of doing it that way, what we've added is this new option here, roles to add to existing users. So if someone comes in who's already a user and they sign up again through the invitation process, what you can do now is they will get whatever roles are specified here. So if you are one of those people that has a kind of vetting process, if they're a new user, they get these two roles. If they're an existing user, they'll get this role. Now, after the upgrade, what's going to happen is this new setting will be there, and whatever is in the first setting will be in the second setting. But if this applies to you, this scenario, you just want to remove that unverified user role here, and then that way, if they're an existing user and they're just being associated, they won't get that anymore. You don't need a workflow to remove it. Um, it'll work that way. The one key thing to remember is that going forward, you want to fill out both of these if you're creating new sign up pages in the future. All right. Almost there. A few more things I really want to highlight. I do apologize and thank you for sticking with me all this time while I run through this. Again, we did kind of really move mountains on this upgrade. So I do want to highlight just a couple more items before I jump to Q&A. The next one is the email. So again, security, just like the Rich Text Editor, security is really always job one with us. We always want to make sure we're ensuring the privacy of your users and the security of your data. To go along with that, what we've done is we've added some extra compliance steps around emails and verifying emails. So when a user gets created in the system now, um, their email will become read-only in the system. If they want to change it, they can go here and they can change it and they can submit that change, but it won't actually change right away. Instead, what it's going to do is it's going to send an email to the new email and say, hey, did you authorize this? In which case you're going to say, yeah, this is my valid email. You're going to verify that through a link, just like when you signed up, and then it will change here in the system. They'll probably have an hour or so. I can't remember the exact time frame, but if they don't verify the new email, that is a valid email, and that is their email, then it will not change. It'll stay the way it is here. And then if they do verify it and it changes here, the old email will also receive an email to let you know. So if for some reason your account, someone gave access to your account and they try to change your email, uh, you would still get a notification for the old email as well. So again, just extra security. I understand that, this may seem like an extra step to people, when they're changing their emails, but we do really want to make sure that we ensure everybody is safe, especially in our new environment out here. Um, all right. When you're associating for, again, I don't have it configured, but if you're using organization switching, so sometimes, especially in the research market, sometimes people will apply to multiple applications or be associated with different applications in different ways. Maybe I'm an applicant with one university and a researcher with another university. Maybe I'm a reviewer with another university, and in which case I have the ability to switch between those organizations using the same user if that's the way my system's been set up. Now, when you're doing that switching, um, typically, well, we've added a way to let me back up. We've added a way to decide what roles you keep when you switch. So instead of keeping all the roles when you switch between universities, you can now to specify which roles you want to keep. So if I come in here to associations, my apologies if I'm going a little too deep on this one, but if I go in here to associations, under the miscellaneous options, we have this option to enable restrictive organization association role model, which is a lot of words. But what this means is if you want to, when you switch between different organizations, if you allow your users to switch between different organizations, you can specify in here which roles they should keep when they're switching. So if you only want a subset of roles to go over when they're switching, you can turn this on and choose that. I would kind of recommend if this is something you're going to do, you probably want to reach out to support, client engagement, or your professional services before you turn that on, because it does change the behavior of the permission model. But it is an option for clients that want it. We did add support for NTE codes if you're using the GuideStar Cherry Check. And for those people in the kind of CSR market, if you're using following organizations, we'd add the ability to sort and filter based on whether you followed an organization. And for anyone who's never heard of that one, again, the whole idea here is you can have what we call a follow icon, and I can go in and I can say, I'm interested in these organizations. And then you can use workflows and notifications to kind of, when that person publishes maybe a new program or something that they might want to apply to, you can use that to notify those people because they were interested in those kind of applications. So it is some functionality that we have. Again, I don't have it configured, but we can talk about that. So I know there's a few other things in here, but I think we should just jump to the Q&A and then we can, because yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Great job, Mark. Again, a lot of great enhancements and a lot of great feedback and questions here. I've been trying to keep up with them, but there's a number of open ones. So I'll just start walking through them, Mark, and see if we can
Sure.
knock them out. So the first one, I'll start at the beginning, was regarding notes, asking, can notes be added to files via workflows, or is it only via manual entry?
Um, my understanding is that notes are added through manual entry. It might be possible to auto create notes. Same with bulk create notes. I know I've done that before, where you can kind of bulk create notes as well. But I don't know if you can create through workflows. Typically, what we do is we use the workflows to notify people when a note was added. But I've never actually tried creating a new note via workflow. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, you can reach out, or it might even be a good one for the Idea Lab. Again, you can reach out for that one if in case I don't know. But yeah, I've only ever done it the other way, where I've notified people because they created a note, or I've bulk created notes, but I've never used workflows to create notes.
Great.
Not saying it's not
Next question.
possible, just that I've never done
Yeah,
it.
sure, sure. Next question, will we be able to put in interactions retroactively backdate?
Yeah, 100%. So when you come in here, let me just make sure I'm telling you the truth here. So let me say, let's say old sample, and I can say I had something that happened, I don't know, let's say July 1st. And yeah, it was July 1st. It happened. There, I had a meeting. Boom. Um, I go in here. Here's my old meeting from July 1st. So yeah, you can backdate it if you wish.
Great. Next question, is interactions only on the contacts object or can it be on the application/grant record too?
Now, it is on the organization, and it's on the user. Uh, we were talking about putting it on the application itself. I can't remember if we did that yet, or that might be a phase two. You can, if I go back here, you can associate it. Um, so if I go back in, let's say this one here, oh, so I can see I've associated with an application. I can jump to that application from here, so I can associate it, but I don't know if I'm on the record if I can get the other way. Um, yeah, I'd have to get back to you on that, or maybe follow up with support. It is something that I think we should add. So feel free to like reach out, and then we can follow up with that one, and possibly either add it in a future upgrade, or at least consider doing it that way.
Next question, are interactions essentially just level twos of the contact records?
Kind of. They're kind of like contact organization level twos. That's what they were based on. In fact, if you had them before, these kind of existed here before, and there is an option under classic options, yeah, to enable the classic one. So yes, it is a revamp of the old level two organization and user activities, but we're renaming it interactions now, and we're getting the new timeline, the new visuals. And we do plan on enhancing it further from there. If you had existing ones, they will actually show up in there as well. If I'm not going too far into the depth on this one, but if I had ones before, the old interactions, they will show up in here. But I believe they will show up under others because we now have this preset for with the last one for others. So if it wasn't a meeting, phone call, site visit, or email, the old activities will show up under others.
Okay. Next question, are the notes, tagging, and replying features compatible with data exchange?
I have not tested, but it should be on your backup though, and you might want to reach out to support if you encounter any issues around that. Um, I think it should be supported in my opinion. I just haven't tested it, so I can't tell you for sure. But do
Okay.
reach out if you encounter an issue.
All right, next question. Can we pull in interaction details to organizations and/or contact and/or submission manager list views or reports?
You can report on it, um, but it's based on the organization and the user, and you can kind of create a report that shows, I had these interactions with this user, and it's associated with this application. So you can report on it using a reporting tool. Um, so I don't know if that answers that question, but you can report on them. It is there is a bit of configuration around, how you do a report builder, and how you join those tables.
Okay.
I don't have one set up, otherwise I'd show you, but you can report on it, and
Okay.
you can
Great.
you
Thank
can
you.
see which applications are related to it.
Yep. Next question, how do we handle email notifications for notes tagging? And if this is enabled by default, is there a way to control this feature?
The well, first off, the note tagging is not enabled by default. You have to opt into that. So if you have a record and you want to put a note in there, um, you have to opt into it. And the way you opt into it is under global settings. Right here, you choose who can be tagged. So you choose which role of people can be tagged. If you choose nothing, no one can tag, and then no one will be notified by default. Um, so I'm not sure if I kind of answered that in a roundabout way, but only the people only if you add a role here, will people be notified when they're tagged, and will be able to tag.
All right. Next question. Is there a setting to archive a record after a certain period of time after changing the status?
No, so you can automatically archive the records, but it archives on status change. So um, again, what I did here is if I go into this grant, I'm going to show you the roundabout way, and I go to statuses, I create an archived status, and then I went into that to this UTA level 1, and here I specified the archive status. So I said, hey, as soon as a record hits archived, archive it. And so that's what it'll do. So automatically you'll have to put a button to move it to archived, and then the system will archive it. Gort, actually our automation platform in the background, it'll move those things. That runs about every 5 minutes. So it may take about 5 minutes, but as soon as you put in that status within about 5 minutes or so, that record will be moved over to the new table. And like I said, if you have existing records that are already flagged as archived, they'll automatically get moved over again in batches. It does take about 5 minutes or so before that'll take effect, but it'll remove it from the list view and then put it in here where you can kind of come in here and then see if you need it.
Another one on archiving. Will an archived grant be visible on the organization and user profile?
No, no. So if it's archived, you won't see that information. You have to go into the UTA to see it. Once we archive it, it's not being surfaced, and that again is to have a performance gain. So it's moved to a whole other table. You're not going to see it there unless you restore it.
Another one, archiving. Can you open and view the entire file, for example, level 2s of an archived file, or do you need to restore it first? I think you just answered that question.
Yeah, I mean you can view stuff through this interface, but yeah, if you really want to be interacting with it or working with it, you're really going to want to restore it again. The whole idea is that if you're making it archived, it's something that's not active and not like you just want to retain that information, but you're not really going to actively search it or use it. If you're still searching it or using it, or drilling down into it, you probably want to restore it, and maybe you don't want to archive it.
Next question. Is there a way to automatically add every contact from an organization to a new grant record as co-applicants? I'm not sure the use case there, but
Not in bulk. In theory, you could. If I come in here, let me see, to contacts, like in theory, if I knew what all the contacts were, or I could use the advanced lookup, I can add people in bulk. I can add their names and add the roles that I want them in. But there's probably a better methodology of doing it than doing it that way. Maybe autoloader or something else might be a better methodology to
yeah.
kind of add those users in bulk. Or even batch update might be better.
Yeah. Next question on smart folders. Is there a recommended way to replace a version of a file with a new version? Let's see what else they say. I had more consistent success with the old interface, check in, check out versus uploading with a file with the same name.
Yeah.
So is there an easy way to do that? Easier way?
Yeah. Okay. So I think this question is really about version control. So, in theory, when I come in here and I upload a file, so if I upload another file called biomass.jpg, it would replace this one. So we will, when I drag the new file in here, we will display a message now that says, it's going to replace it, but it doesn't kind of keep a version control. If you want a different file name, then right now you have to make sure that the files have different names. If you put the same file in, it's going to overwrite the file that was already there. So when you're uploading new files, if you want to keep a version control, you have to have a different name currently. I don't think there's a way around that currently, but that might be a good suggestion to be able to turn on kind of, maybe we could add a setting or something where it's like, version control the files, but right now it's not supported.
Next question. Does the reminder mail functionality task stop the other tasks in the workflow?
No, I don't think so. Again, I may have to get engineering to confirm it, but I believe what happens is it puts all those reminders into kind of a pending queue. It doesn't stop everything else while it's waiting, and that's my understanding. So, unless you find something different, I believe that's how it works. And if you do have an issue, just reach out to support and we can clarify it.
Okay. Next question. If we currently have emails locked down so no one can change them except admins, is this
Mhm.
will this functionality turn it on?
This functionality, turn it on. So I guess what you're saying here is if you've already locked down this field with permissions,
Yeah, yeah,
I think
they're saying it's locked down. Will this enhancement uh, open that up and I guess override that lockdown?
I don't believe so. I haven't checked for that scenario, but if you don't mind, if you do find that there is any issue there, let us know right away, and we'll make sure to address that. Um, but I think what they're saying is that they've come in here and for permissions they've specified that people can't edit it. I would think this is on top of that. So your system admins are also going to have to kind of they have to maybe not. Yeah, let me know if you encounter any issues with it. I don't think it should be a problem for you, but if there is, just reach out to support, log a ticket, and we'll address it.
Great. Let's see, we 5 minutes left. Let me just add a few more questions here. For restricting the language of a specific application, does the functionality work if you're using AI to create the translations?
So the way it works is that um, when you go to look at the record, it's going to switch the user temporarily into the language that you've specified for that record. So that record has to be viewed in a language. It's not going to automatically translate into that language. It has to already you'll have to have translations in your system for that language. But they will only be able to view it in that language. I don't know if I was too roundabout or if I answered that. Maybe let me know if I didn't get it right.
Next question, can you move a user from internal to external?
It's the organizations, but if the user's under an organization, in theory you could, but I can't move the user directly over. No, it's
Oh,
the organization they're in. I mean, in theory, you could switch them to an organization and move that organization over to get around it, but you can't directly move a user. No.
okay. Next question, when an org contact leaves, do we have the ability to transfer the interaction somewhere else, like another contact at that org?
I've Although I haven't done it, I assume what you could do is just change the owner of it. So if internally it was me and I want to change to John, I would just change this to John and then the association would be done. I don't know that we have a way to do it in bulk. I don't think I can do it in bulk right now, but unless it can be done through, I guess you can customize this list view. So depending if this list view has batch update support, which it might, you might be able to do that through batch update and just switch it all over for that user from one user to another. I don't know if I showed this or not. Let me kind of jump in to global settings. Sorry, I know we're running really late here. Um, there is the interaction list views right here. So I went to global settings, users, interaction list views. So I can set my own list view here, which I haven't done, but you can set those up. And you probably put batch update there and change them in bulk. But yeah, try it. I haven't tried it yet.
We're gonna add one more question. There's only a few left, so we've done pretty good, but there's a few open. But the last question, can interactions be pulled into list views in the main submission manager search page? For example, would we be able to search for all level 2 activities and interactions associated with a contact?
I don't think so right now, um, but I'd have to get back to you. That's probably a good follow-up question. Maybe if you want to
Okay.
log into the support or through client engagement, ask it. We can get you a better answer, but I don't think it's possible to pull it right now, but I could be wrong.
We've got 2 minutes left. I think we'll end the questions there because there's only a couple more. But I do want to just make a few quick comments. Number one, thanks again, Mark, for the overview and answering a lot of these questions on the fly. I'd encourage you, as Mark has mentioned, reach out to your Smart Simple representative or post your suggestions on the Idea Lab. It's something that Mark and I and Oliver and some others, we review every week and review and respond to them. So it's not as if there's a black hole. We're reviewing them, identifying them. A lot of them we're going to mark as monitoring interest. Some of them that if we feel are high value that can have a big impact, we will acknowledge that they're going to be worked onto the roadmap. So we are monitoring those constantly. Um, and lastly, again, a lot here, obviously, as we went through, Mark went through and at pretty rapid pace, a lot of enhancements. Please check out the wiki. Please, play around in your backup instance. And if you have questions, reach out to us. We'd love to get your feedback. as this is a continuous process of improving it, and we want to give you as much value as we can. So everybody have a great day. Thanks for your time today, and we look forward to talking to you in the near future.